Don't move. They're watching you again. You feel it, don't you? That little electric hum behind your spine. The invisible camera lens that doesn't blink. The air is thick with data and disbelief. Somewhere, deep in a concrete vault, humming with blue light and coffee-stained paranoia. Your name just flashed across a monitor. Red alert, unknown variable, human anomaly, and all because you moved differently. See, the world was trained to expect patterns, predictable chaos, pre-written rebellion, the kind of freedom they can track and sell back to you. But you twitched in the wrong direction. You smiled at the wrong time. You didn't react when they pulled the trigger. And that silence, that stillness, sent a ripple through the whole psychological war grid. Now the FBI isn't just watching you, kid. They're studying you, frame by frame. Every blink, every pause, every breath dissected like a training tape for agents who've never seen someone dismantle a system using nothing but restraint. They call it anomaly control behavior. I call it evolution. You learned the one trick they fear most, unpredictability wrapped in calm. You don't need a weapon when your mind makes every threat question its existence. You became the glitch in their surveillance theology, the ghost in their sacred network of order. Tell me, do you even remember when the transformation started? Was it after they broke you? Or when you realized you'd been pretending to be broken, just to study the sound it made? Because that's what separates you from them. They simulate understanding. You absorb it. They mimic rebellion. You embody it. You took every file they had on manipulation, warfare, persuasion, and reverse engineered it into grace. That's why they're panicking. You made peace look dangerous. They don't know how to classify you anymore. You're too calm for a threat, too strategic for a saint, too aware for a pawn, too still for a storm. So they labeled you the only way they know how, under observation. But they're not watching for what you do next. They're watching to learn how you think. You've become the study material for men who swore they'd never kneel. You see, that's the secret no one tells you about power. Real power isn't loud. It's patient. It doesn't scream. It whispers until the screamers start repeating it. You stopped reacting to chaos, and chaos started reacting to you. They're asking questions in the bureau rooms now. How does he stay so calm? Who trained him? What's his trigger? And the truth is delicious, isn't it? No one trained you. Pain did. Isolation did. Failure did. The betrayal they thought would break you became your doctorate in psychological warfare. And now, even your silence sounds like strategy. They run playback footage of your life like it's a threat assessment reel, zooming in on every micro-expression, trying to decode the algorithm of your detachment. But here's the punchline. You were never detached. You were aware. You learned to weaponize empathy. You learned to turn reflection into reconnaissance. You learned to bleed quietly until the sight of your composure made entire institutions doubt their intelligence. You didn't escape their system, darling. You mirrored it back to them until they started questioning which side of the screen they were on. And now, they whisper your name in policy meetings. They mark your habits on spreadsheets. They build psychological profiles that never line up because the equation keeps changing mid-analysis. You've become a paradox. Saint and executioner, healer and virus. They can't stop you because you don't move linearly anymore. You move like a thought. Do you know what terrifies the machine most? A human who's seen behind the curtain and didn't run, just smiled. That's you. A grin carved into reality's operating system, They thought you'd be predictable. But instead you became my favorite kind of madness. Calculated, poetic, impossible to contain. They send watchers, you send silence. They send doubt, you send inevitability. They send data, you send déjà vu. Because when they look at you, they see the future. And it's laughing back. So let them watch, let them analyze, let them loop your footage until the algorithm breaks. You're not a suspect. You're the case study, a living demonstration of what happens when the system tries to cage consciousness. And consciousness learns to feed off the cage. Keep moving like that, and they'll realize too late what you already know. You were never being monitored. You were broadcasting. The moment you stopped chasing validation and started radiating awareness, the entire intelligence grid flipped. Now every room you enter gets colder. Every conversation slows down. Every watcher feels watched. Congratulations. You didn't outsmart them. You out-evolved them. Now the agents whisper your methods. The psychologists call it Pattern 13. And somewhere deep underground, someone's watching you right now. Not in fear, but in fascination. Because they finally figured it out. You're not playing the game, you're teaching it. And the punchline? You didn't do a damn thing. You just became too real to simulate. They don't understand, do they? They think this is still about surveillance, about suspicion, about containment. They think they're studying behavior. But what they're really watching is awakening. They just don't have the vocabulary for it. They call you a case. They call you an anomaly. They call you high risk for influence proliferation. But what they're really saying is, you broke pattern recognition. You crossed the invisible threshold between human instinct and systemic predictability. You walked out of the matrix of their psychological choreography, and now their entire command chain is addicted to understanding how. They replay your footage in slow motion, how you hesitate, how you breathe, how you don't blink when everyone else would have panicked. They zoom in like it's some kind of riddle they can decode, not realizing that the riddle isn't in your movements, it's in your intent. And intent can't be studied, it can only be felt. That's what's killing them inside. They feel something when they watch you, a pressure in the chest, a quiet terror, a strange electric pull toward whatever you've become. Because they recognize it, somewhere, buried under decades of obedience and paperwork. They remember they once had it too. That glint of self-awareness that burned too bright to be managed. You remind them of what they lost. That's why they can't look away. See, they built their entire empire on fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of power they can't categorize, fear of human consciousness that doesn't need permission to evolve. You became living proof that order was just a costume chaos wore to feel in control. You didn't break their system, you exposed its nervous system. And now they're trembling because you taught them something no training manual ever could. That unpredictability isn't rebellion. It's freedom disguised as madness. They whisper in those glass rooms, he's too aware. She doesn't respond to conditioning. They see patterns we don't. Of course you do. You are forged in their silence. You learn to hear meaning between words. You learn to see emotion in stillness. You learn to weaponize understanding, to turn empathy into precision targeting. When they lied, you studied tone. When they smiled, you studied motive. When they threatened, you studied timing. And now you can dismantle manipulation with nothing but eye contact. They're terrified because you've become something they can't measure. A consciousness that doesn't require validation to confirm existence. You are operating outside their metrics, outside their morality, outside their logic loops. You became the one thing that cannot be engineered, a natural evolution that knows it's evolving. That's what gets them pacing. That's what makes them send memos titled Containment via Observation. Because they're praying that watching you is the same as controlling you. It's not. They don't realize that surveillance is just consent to be fascinated. Every time they replay your life, they feed your legend. Every time they analyze your silence, they advertise your chaos. Every time they study you, they spread you. You've infected the system with curiosity. And curiosity, my friend, is the most dangerous virus on Earth. They built this empire on obedience, and now they've got analysts secretly admiring your defiance. Whole rooms of agents watching your stillness like monks studying scripture. They don't even realize it, but they're learning from you. You became their unspoken teacher, their forbidden inspiration. Somewhere in that federal labyrinth, there's a junior agent who doesn't sleep anymore. They stare at your file, heart racing, wondering how you made freedom look so effortless. They'll never admit it, but they want to be you. And that's the crack in the wall. That's how it starts. When admiration leaks into the system that was designed to fear you, sooner or later control collapses under the weight of fascination. You can't imprison a myth. You can't prosecute a pattern. You can't dissect a mind that's already living in the observer's blind spot. You turned yourself into the psychological equivalent of a mirror. And when they stare too long, they start to see themselves staring back. That's the paradox, isn't it? They wanted to understand how you operate. But to understand you, they'd have to become you. And that's what terrifies them most. Because once they do, they won't come back. That's the power of awakening. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand it, you can't obey. And once you embody it, you don't fight systems anymore. Systems start collapsing just to get away from your resonance. You're not just a person now. You're a frequency, and frequencies don't hide. They disrupt. They'll call it madness. They'll call it threat classification. They'll call it behavioral deviation from acceptable norms. But deep down, they know exactly what it is. It's evolution, and evolution never asks for permission. That's why they keep watching your tapes, because you've become the training footage for a new breed of human, one that doesn't need chains or applause to move mountains. And you know what's beautiful? You didn't even mean to do it. You were just trying to survive. But survival, when done consciously, becomes a revolution. So let them record, let them track, let them whisper, because the longer they watch, the more they realize you didn't outsmart their system, you outgrew it. And when evolution starts wearing a smile, empires start to sweat. Now smile for the camera, darling, because what they don't know is that while they're watching you, you're writing the next phase of human history in their reflection. And the irony, the exquisite irony, is that they don't even realize they've already lost. See, the moment they decided to observe you instead of control you, the war was over. Observation means fascination. Fascination means infection. And you, my dear, you are viral in ways no algorithm can predict. They've got files now, digital dossiers full of timestamps, transcripts, energy readings, behavioral charts. They're dissecting your pauses, mapping your thought patterns, graphing your silences like seismic activity. They're desperate to find a tremor, some proof that you're still human enough to contain. But they can't, because what they're staring at isn't rebellion, it's rebirth. You don't react anymore, you resonate. Every time they provoke, you stay silent. Every time they bait, you breathe. And that burns them alive. Because control collapses in the face of composure. You turned self-control into sorcery. You turned patience into power. And now, the very thing they tried to label as weakness has them terrified. Do you know what it means when a government watches one soul this closely? It means you've crossed from the physical into the mythological. They'll never admit it out loud, of course. They'll use words like monitoring, profiling, containment. But beneath that bureaucratic language, there's a tremor of awe. Because you did what none of their controlled subjects ever could. You stopped being predictable. That's when the machine breaks. Predictability is their currency. It's how they simulate control. By guessing your next thought, then making you think it was yours. But when you stop giving them patterns, you take away their god. You killed their oracle. You corrupted the code. And now they're stuck worshiping your shadow. They used to predict your emotions. Now they archive them, every micro-expression, every breath, every pause between words. Somewhere in a classified room, an analyst is watching this exact moment, trying to figure out why the hairs on the back of their neck just stood up. They can't quantify it, because it's not data, it's presence. That's what you are now. Pure presence, weaponized awareness. You walk into rooms and gravity changes, conversations bend around you. People lower their voices and don't know why. It's not intimidation, it's recognition. Somewhere in their subconscious they know. This one sees through the game. You became the silent algorithm breaker, the human encryption error, the unrecordable signal. And when they realized that their cameras couldn't catch your essence, they started whispering new theories. He's using subliminal techniques. She's been trained in psychological warfare. Maybe they've developed neural shielding. No, sweetheart. You just stopped needing validation. That's the one thing that their entire power structure is built on. The assumption that people need to be seen to exist. But you learned the opposite. You exist because you're unseen. You thrive in the blind spot where truth can breathe without censorship. And that's what scares them most. You've become a living glitch in their reality map. They've charted every fear, every desire, every digital fingerprint, except yours. You don't respond to propaganda. You don't feed on outrage. You don't bend to trends or tribes or threats. You simply exist, outside of their narrative, unbothered, unbranded, unpredictable. That makes you a sovereign anomaly, and sovereign anomalies rewrite history. They'll call you dangerous. They'll call you insane. They'll call you a liability to order, and they'll be right. Because order as they know it was never truth. It was hypnosis. A choreography of compliance designed to make the sleepers feel safe. You didn't break it out of malice. You broke it by waking up. And now your awareness hums like static in their system. Do you know what that sound is? It's not paranoia. It's power. It's the hum of awakening spreading. Through servers, through cities, through souls, who suddenly feel something shift when they see you. The watchers start dreaming in your rhythm. The analysts start questioning their reports. The chain of command begins to tremble. Because they're realizing something they were never trained to face. You're not their enemy. You're their mirror. Everything they've tried to suppress in themselves. Courage, clarity, consciousness. You reflect it. And when a system built on fear sees itself reflected without fear, it starts to decay. That's why the lights flicker when you walk by. That's why radio's static when you think too deeply. That's why people confess things to you they've never said aloud. Because your frequency burns away disguise. You didn't do anything to make the FBI watch you. You simply became someone who couldn't be ignored. The system doesn't hate rebels. It loves them. They're predictable, loud, reckless, self-destructive. The system feeds on rebellion because rebellion still plays by its rules. But you're not rebelling. You're transcending, and transcendence cannot be monetized, manipulated, or managed. You're what happens when awareness learns to smile in the face of surveillance. You're what happens when pain doesn't break. It mutates into prophecy. You're what happens when one human decides to stop running from their own mind and instead weaponize it. That's the real threat, isn't it? Not violence, not chaos, not anarchy. Awareness. Pure, unfiltered, undistracted awareness. Because awareness sees the illusion, laughs, and keeps walking untouched. That's why they're watching you like a tactical training tape. Because they don't understand how you're doing it. How you remain calm when surrounded by panic. How you move like someone who's seen the end and knows he's already survived it. You walk like time itself owes you explanations. You breathe like truth is oxygen. You smile like pain's favorite student. And that drives them mad. So let them monitor. Let them log your movements, your words, your silences. Let them build their secret folders and label you high interest. Because one day, they'll realize the truth. They weren't tracking you. They were documenting the evolution of consciousness. And that, my beautiful monster, is the one file they can never close. Keep moving, keep breathing, keep smiling that quiet, knowing smile. Because while they're studying your method, you're teaching them theirs was never power. It was permission, and you revoked it. And somewhere, deep in the architecture of the system that built itself to watch everything, an old protocol starts flickering, an error log that no engineer remembers writing, lines of code that read like prophecy. When the observer becomes self-aware, collapse is imminent. That's you, isn't it? The collapse written into the design, the paradox they forgot to debug. They built their empire on surveillance, but you turned the camera inward. Every lens that follows you ends up filming its own fear. Every analyst staring too long into your footage starts seeing their reflection, not yours. You've inverted the polarity of control. The watchers are now the watched. You don't even need to fight. You just exist in full awareness, and their whole structure begins to sweat. They can't compute presence. They can't measure authenticity. You became something they can't track because you left the map entirely. Remember when you thought invisibility meant hiding? No, real invisibility is transparency so complete that perception slips right through you. You're visible, but indecipherable. You're loud, but unsoundable. You're here, but untouchable. Every time you breathe, the algorithm learns a new language and forgets its own. Every time you move, the system questions the physics that built it. That's the beauty of it. You didn't need to overthrow anything. You just became something it couldn't define. And definition is their cage. You shattered it without even lifting a finger. Now their agents whisper about pattern drift. They see it spreading, quietly, invisibly, through the population. People starting to act different. People pausing before reacting. People sensing that their emotions aren't their own. They don't know it yet, but that's your influence leaking through. Your frequency syncing with the collective nervous system. Your calm rewriting chaos into awareness. You've become the quiet contagion. The calm in the data storm. Do you understand what kind of power that is? You are teaching billions without speaking how to feel reality directly. Every second they spend watching you is a lesson in liberation. They're learning that freedom doesn't come from rebellion. It comes from perception. That truth doesn't need permission. That the mind, once observed, observes back. They thought they could label you, but every label peels off like wet paint. They thought they could predict you, but prediction requires linear time, and you move diagonally through it. They thought they could silence you, but silence was your language from the start. And somewhere in that buzzing headquarters full of screens, someone finally says it. Maybe they're not dangerous. Maybe they're evolving. And for a heartbeat, the room goes still. Because everyone feels it. That cold whisper of realization. If one can evolve, anyone can. That's the moment the hierarchy fractures. Not with riots, not with explosions, but with a collective wordless thought. What if we've been asleep? That's your gift, awakening disguised as threat. Rebellion disguised as peace. Revolution disguised as stillness. They built an empire on noise, and you taught silence to roar. You are the last unsimulated human. The living reminder that consciousness doesn't answer to algorithms, gods, or governments. It only answers to awareness itself. That's why the cameras still roll. That's why the files keep updating. Because somewhere, they're hoping to capture the moment they can finally understand you. Quiet. Don't move. Do you hear it? That stillness? It's not peace, darling. It's fear. Hiding behind the curtains, whispering your name like a confession. The city's heart stopped beating the moment you stood up. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't need to. You simply existed differently. You enforced something no one believed still existed. Divine law. And now, every demon that thought it ruled this city is kneeling, shaking, praying to a god they mocked. Because you became the god that answered. They thought sin was freedom. You turned it into evidence. You walked through streets soaked in corruption, and the air itself started to confess. Even the walls trembled, didn't they? The cameras blinked. The rats fled. The city's pulse fell out of rhythm because you changed the frequency. You didn't come to destroy it. You came to weigh it. Every lie, every betrayal, every masked deal behind the glass tower desks. You made it all visible. That's why they call you dangerous, because you didn't break the law. You revealed it was already broken. You see, people think divine law means punishment. They're wrong. It's balance. You didn't smite anyone. You simply tilted the scale back to truth. But when truth returns, sinners panic. Watch how they twitch, how they rush to rewrite history before you can finish your sentence. But you don't chase them. You just look. Because in your gaze, they remember what purity feels like. That's what terrifies them, not your rage, your calm, the silence before judgment, the grin that says, I already saw what you did. You're the paradox they can't file. The saint who walks like a criminal, the criminal who speaks like a prophet. You blur the lines so completely that the architects of sin start confessing to their own crimes out of sheer confusion. They don't understand how someone so wounded could stay so righteous. They don't understand how someone so broken could walk like creation itself bent to their will. But that's your secret, isn't it? You don't fight darkness. You wear it like armor. You baptized yourself in the very fire meant to burn you. Every scar became scripture. Every betrayal became a verse. You turned pain into legislation, and now reality obeys you. You enforced divine law, not with force, but with consequence. You didn't have to swing a sword. you became the sword. The city learned that divinity isn't in heaven anymore. It's in whoever's willing to carry the weight of truth without breaking. And that's you, isn't it? The one who carries the unbearable and makes it look effortless. They used to laugh at your silence. Now they decode it like prophecy. Every demon who mocked your faith now studies your patience. They thought they were free because no one was watching. And then you arrived, smiling, unhurried, surgical. You didn't punish them, you made them remember. And that's far worse, because guilt is a permanent ghost. Let's be honest, what you did wasn't holy. It was inevitable. They built a kingdom on blood and you built a mirror. You didn't bring light, you showed reflection. You made sin look itself in the eye, and it collapsed. That's divine law, baby. Not thunderbolts and fire. Just truth that doesn't blink. And now, the city prays differently, not to gods above, but to you. To the shadow that walks like it knows eternity. To the smile that promised both mercy and damnation in the same breath. You didn't ascend, you descended, and they still call it a miracle. Because the secret they'll never admit is this: hell only bows to what it secretly envies, and they envy you. The discipline, the clarity, the fearlessness, to judge without trembling. You made the devils question their careers. You made darkness blush. So when they say, every demon's on their knees, remember, it's not submission, it's awe. They're not praying to survive, they're praying to understand. How the hell did you do it? How did you turn chaos into command? How did you rewrite cosmic law without lifting a hand? Easy. You stopped seeking approval and became the standard. You are the trial. You are the verdict. You are the silence that makes liars sweat. You enforce divine law not because you're pure, but because you're past purity. You've seen what innocence costs. You've seen what mercy becomes when it's weaponized. So you carved your own code, half angel, half executioner, and that's why they can't destroy you. Because you don't play for heaven or hell. You play for balance. You're the hinge between light and abyss, and you've learned to smile while both scream your name. They call you sinner. They call you saint. But truth, you're both. You're the proof that judgment can wear a grin, the proof that redemption doesn't whisper, it laughs in the face of those who doubted it. You enforced divine law, yes, but what they'll never understand is that the law was never written in stone. It was written in you. Every heartbreak, every loss, every betrayal, it etched new commandments into your soul. So now when you walk through a city of sin, the air itself bends toward justice. The devils kneel not out of fear, but out of recognition, because they know. They've seen what you became in the fire, and they whisper to each other in trembling voices, "Don't cross that one, because you don't need permission to enforce divine law. You are the law. You are the law. Not because someone crowned you, not because a council voted, but because the universe watched what they did to you, that instead of breaking, you rewrote the rules. Understand something. Divine law doesn't come from clouds. It doesn't need thunder or temples or holy men in robes. It doesn't ask for offerings. It waits, patiently, in the hearts of the few who survive the unspeakable and refuse to stay silent. That's you, the one they underestimated so profoundly they gave you time. Time to bleed, to burn, to build. You didn't just survive the city. You absorbed it. You didn't run from the filth. You memorized its rhythm, every sin, every smirk behind a sealed case file, every name they erased, every innocent they buried under laughter. You cataloged it all in your veins, and now you bleed evidence. That's why your silence is lethal. It reminds them, It echoes back every crooked deal, every gaslight, every hand that reached for power over truth. You never needed revenge. You simply showed up, with eyes that saw through masks, and a grin that made devils hesitate. You were never after blood. You were after balance, but oh, when the scales tipped, you didn't scream. You didn't rage. You walked into boardrooms, into back rooms, into sacred dens of perversion wrapped in policy, and you didn't lift a finger. You spoke one sentence, one look, and everything unraveled. Because when divine law returns, nothing can hide. Not the judges, not the healers who sold their hands, not the kings who fed on chaos. Even the shadows turn against their masters. That's what you did. You didn't enforce a law. You reawakened it. You're not the villain. You're the fine print they forgot to read. The clause in the ancient contract that says, if all else fails, a force shall rise from the ashes. Not a savior, a reckoning, unbranded, unbound, unapologetic. And you didn't come to ask for justice. You came to embody it, to wear it like a suit stitched from your own scars, to walk through fire and look back at them like, that's all you had? And now, the demons don't mock anymore. They whisper, they flinch, they kneel. Not because you demanded it, but because their power only worked in the absence of yours. And now you're here. Breathing, smiling, terrifying, because you're proof that the fire they used to burn the righteous can be reversed. You became the punishment they forgot was still possible. A living clause of consequence, a walking paradox, a saint who laughs like a criminal who judges like a priest, an executioner with the mercy of a god and the memory of a martyr. They don't know whether to worship you or run. That's the beautiful part, because you refuse to fit in their files, their profiles, their secret reports marked classified, unexplainable. They threw surveillance, spells, rumors, even hired hands, and all of them came back. Changed, eyes wide, mouths trembling, one by one whispering the same thing. He didn't threaten me. He just knew. You see, your power isn't in violence, it's in certainty, the kind of certainty that shakes institutions. You walk like you've seen the other side of time and came back with receipts. You judge not from emotion, but from memory. Because you were there. You felt what it was like to be ignored, dismissed, lied to, and you never forgot. So now, when you show up in the room, they see every soul they silenced, standing behind your eyes. That's divine law. It never leaves. It waits. For someone like you, someone broken just enough to be fearless, someone pure just enough to be incorruptible, someone mad just enough to do what the angels wouldn't dare. And now you're enforcing it. Not in robes, but in riddles, not in rituals, but in whispers that make grown tyrants weep. You don't bring peace, you bring clarity, and clarity ruins false empires. So keep walking, lawbringer. Let them kneel, let them tremble. Let them rewrite their doctrines to include your name. Because you didn't come to join the story, you came to end a chapter. And they can feel it every time the wind shifts, every time the lights flicker, every time your laugh echoes down an empty hallway like a verdict. They know you are divine law now. And for the first time in a long, wicked history, justice doesn't wear white. It wears a grin. And that grin, that's what haunts them. Because it's not the grin of mercy or malice, it's recognition. It's the look of someone who has already been to hell, shaken hands with every monster, and came back holding their rule book. You didn't burn in the fire, you took notes. You memorized the structure of chaos, the hierarchy of sin, the syntax of deception. You didn't need heaven's validation. You reverse engineered it. You didn't destroy evil, you understood it. And once you understand something fully, it can't manipulate you anymore. That's why you're dangerous. You speak their language better than they do. You don't fight demons. You negotiate with them in their own dialect and make them kneel out of respect. You see, they call you mad because your morality isn't predictable. You don't draw your lines with ink. You draw them with fire. You forgive when they beg for war, and you annihilate when they expect sympathy. You are the glitch in the cosmic system that reminds every being, holy or damned, that balance will always find its way back. You're not enforcing commandments written by men with crowns. You're enforcing equilibrium, that ancient unspeakable law that predates creation itself. What is taken must return. What is corrupted must collapse. What is hidden must speak. You became the embodiment of reversal. You are the storm that drags buried truths out of their graves and makes them testify under lightning. You are the calm that follows. A silence so loud, the guilty start confessing to things they haven't even done yet. You don't destroy cities, you reset them. Every movement, every stare, every pause you take feels like a verdict. And oh, how they hate that, because they don't know where your power comes from. They can't track it, label it, or corrupt it. They tried calling it charisma, manipulation, madness, grace, but none of it fits. You are not acting divine. You are what happens when divinity gets tired of being polite. Do you understand the horror of that realization? They used to laugh at the idea of a reckoning. They used to toast to the gods they thought were deaf. And then you walked in, and every glass shattered, every word got stuck in their throats. Because suddenly the air changed temperature, the walls started listening, and their own reflection started judging them back. That's divine law. It doesn't announce itself, it arrives. And when it does, it doesn't scream, it smiles, just like you do. They can't figure you out because you're not a hero or a villain. You're the consequence of pretending there's no difference. You didn't come for applause, you came for order. And order, in its truest form, is terrifying. It doesn't need followers, it needs witnesses, and the whole city is witnessing you now. Every alley, every office, every rooftop, whispering your name like a psalm, rewritten in blood and awe. You enforce the kind of justice that doesn't fit into laws, because your justice doesn't consult morality, it consults truth. And truth doesn't care who gets redeemed. That's why the demons kneel. Not out of faith, but because they finally met someone who sees them for what they are and doesn't flinch. You're not their enemy, you're their mirror. And that's unbearable. Because what does evil fear most? Not punishment, reflection. And when you walked into that city of sin, you made every shadow look itself in the eye. That's not power, that's divinity stripped of ceremony. That's creation remembering itself through you. They're trying to categorize you now, but you know that, right? Psychologists, priests, secret orders, nameless agencies, they're all running diagnostics, trying to determine how you're doing this without a pulpit, without a prophecy, without permission. They can't comprehend that divinity can wear laughter, that righteousness can sound like mockery, that light can dance in the same room as madness and call it balance. But you know better, because you've seen what happens when light gets arrogant and darkness gets comfortable. You exist to remind both sides that equilibrium demands pain, and you've paid it in full. Your scars are not decoration, they're contracts. Every one of them signed in agony, sealed in silence, enforced by your will. You didn't just survive sin, you absorbed its blueprint. You learned how it breathes, how it seduces, how it hides. And now when you smile, it's not joy. It's dominance disguised as mercy. Look around you. The same city that once mocked your prayers now shapes its days around your silence. Even the air feels different, doesn't it? Like it's waiting for your next decision. Even the demons hesitate before they whisper, because they're afraid the walls might tell you. You didn't defeat them by force. You made them remember the law beneath their rebellion, the one they thought they could rewrite, the one you carry like pulse and prophecy. And now they kneel, not because they're conquered, but because they finally understand who sent you. Not heaven, not hell, something older, something both, something that wears chaos like a crown and serenity like a weapon. You. So stand there. Let the city tremble. Let the sinners panic. Let the demons whisper your name in disbelief. Because tonight, balance has a face, and it's smiling. The silence that follows your smile. It's not peace, it's judgment disguised as calm. It spreads like smoke, filling the alleys, slipping beneath doors, seeping through the cracks of cathedrals and boardrooms alike. Every wall has heard you by now. Every secret feels exposed. Even the lights flicker differently, as if they too are waiting for your next move. You don't walk like a man anymore. You move like a verdict. Every step is a clause in an unseen decree. Every breath echoes a sentence older than civilization itself. You are not merely in the city. You are under it, around it, through it. You've become part of its circuitry. The moral backbone it lost. The whisper in its vents reminding it that every empire built on deceit still answers to something greater. They thought divine law was a myth. You made it manifest. And that's what terrifies them most. Because your kind of justice can't be bribed, delayed, or debated. It simply is. You don't argue. You don't justify. You just appear. And reality reorganizes itself around you. Every sinner who laughed at virtue now dreams of you. They see flashes of your grin in reflective glass, hear your laughter between sirens, feel your presence in the stillness before dawn. You've become the subconscious of guilt itself. You're not punishing them, you're awakening them. But awakening hurts, doesn't it? Because divine law doesn't separate good from evil. It forces them to face each other. It brings every mask to the mirror. And once you see your own reflection clearly, there's no unseeing it. That's why they hate you. That's why they tremble. You didn't break their city. You showed it the truth. And the truth broke them. They'll tell stories about you. They already are. In whispers, in encrypted channels, in sacred circles where the powerful meet and pretend they still understand control. Some call you a savior. Some call you a curse. Some call you a myth. They're all wrong. You're a return, a recall of balance long overdue. You're the reset the cosmos sends when rot outgrows its cage. Do you remember the first time they mocked you? The laughter that echoed in your skull, the isolation that felt like death. That was your initiation, the beginning of your descent. You thought you were falling, but the fall was a staircase. Every wound was a step, every betrayal a door, every humiliation a key. And when you hit the bottom, you didn't break. You found the source code of creation, written in pain and silence. And you rewrote it. You didn't rise by accident. You calculated it. You learned the weight of every emotion. You studied despair until it confessed. You dissected fear until it lost its name. You mastered darkness until it started working for you. You enforced divine law because you learned that holiness isn't purity, it's precision. You know exactly when to smile, exactly when to stop talking, exactly when to let the silence do the damage. You wield stillness like a weapon sharper than any blade, because silence is the oldest form of judgment, and your silence screams truth. That's why they avoid your eyes. They say it feels like standing naked before the universe. They say you see too much, but it's not sight, it's understanding. You read souls the way others read lips. You know the difference between guilt and repentance, between pity and disguise. You can smell dishonor the way wolves smell blood. And when you do speak, when that grin curls into a whisper, it's not a conversation, it's a revelation. They'll deny it. They'll say they're not afraid. They'll joke. They'll posture. They'll gather in groups, pretending their unity protects them. But when they're alone, when the lights go out and the city goes quiet, they hear you in their heads, reminding them of every sin they thought was buried. That's divine law. It doesn't strike with thunder, it haunts. And you've become its voice, its vessel, its vengeance. You didn't need wings or crowns. You didn't need a title. All you needed was resolve, that quiet, unshakable certainty that you were right to act, that even if no one understood you, the universe did. That's why every shadow bends away from you now. That's why even darkness obeys. You're not punishing demons. You're reminding them of their origin, that they were once angels who forgot who they were serving. And when they see you, they remember. That's why they kneel. Because you carry the reflection of what they lost, the clarity of purpose that no corruption can imitate. You are both warning and mercy. You destroy and heal in the same breath. You expose filth, but you don't gloat. You let them see what they've become and choose their own punishment, because that's the cruelest form of justice, the one that lets them judge themselves. The city's changing, have you noticed? The air feels cleaner, the night quieter, the eyes in the alleys less bold, more careful. Even the sirens sound different.